supposed to be the soldier who never loses the composure. Even though I hold the weight of the whole world on my shoulders, I ain't ever supposed to show it. My crew ain't supposed to know it. What's up, guys? JP here. Bringing you my next training update in my lead up to the IPF Classic World Championships. I'm competing in 10 weeks today. Today is Friday here in Melbourne. And I'm competing on the 24th of June. So like I said, I'm 10 weeks out as of today. You're watching training that went from the 8th of April to the 14th of April. That's the last week. And I started off things last Friday with these squats that you can see. And you're going to see training all through this week. So I squat on Fridays, as you saw there. I squatted this morning, but you're not going to see that footage until you watch next week's update. What I want to quickly do is touch on what's been going on with my training this week. So if you're following me on Instagram, you'd know that I sustained a small injury earlier in the week, which I'm going to explore a little bit later and explain to you a little bit later. For now, I want to quickly speak about a question that I often get asked, which is about my programming. Not only how I program for myself, but how I program for my lifters. The easy answer that I always give people is that it depends. So I always get questions to what my frequency is like how often will I do competition lift, how often will I do variations, how often will I do accessories, and in what volumes, etc., etc. It's a very big question, obviously. So I just want to give you a bit of a brief on my mindset or what I'm kind of thinking about when I'm designing programs. So when I think about exercise selection, what kind of goes on in my head is I think of exercise selection having multiple tiers. So the highest tier, tier 1, would be your competition lifts. So for me, that'd be a low bar style squat, reasonably wide grip bench press, competition style bench press as you're watching here, and a sumo deadlift. That'd be tier 1. My tier 1A lifts, so my second level, tier 1A, would be the competition lifts in some sort of variation to range of motion or tempo. So that is the same movement pattern, the exact same movement, but with a variation in the speed or the range of motion. So for example, that'd be like a board press or a block pull, a sumo deadlift block pull, or a pause squat or a tempo squat, which you're going to see in a minute as well. So that'd be my tier 1A lifts. Now I have tier 2 lifts. So tier 2 lifts are lifts that are full compound lifts that are very similar to the competition lifts, but there is a variation in technique. So that's things like, for example, in the squat, high bar squats and front squats. In the bench press, that'd be things like close grip bench press and incline bench press. In the deadlift, that'd be like the opposite stance deadlifts mainly. So those are my kind of tier 2 lifts. From that, we have tier 3 lifts, which are still compound lifts in general. They tend to be compound lifts, but they kind of mix the variations from tier 1A and tier 2. So that'd be things like a pause front squat, or a paused incline bench press, or for me, a deficit conventional deadlift, because those are lifts where it's not the competition lift, it's a variation in technique, and there's also that extra layer of change in range of motion or change in tempo. And the final tier, or I wouldn't call the final tier, but the kind of fourth tier, main accessories. These are lifts that have very little dynamic correspondence, very little direct transfer to your competition lift, and are more about building up general qualities. So that's things like dumbbell bench press or incline dumbbell bench press. That's things like tricep extensions, bicep curls, rows, pull-ups. In the lower body, that tends to be things like leg press, split squats, lunges, glute bridges. These are lifts that don't really resemble the competition lift in any appreciable way, but have carryover in that they're training the muscle groups associated with the lifts, or are focused around things like prehab or rehab. And depending on who the lifter is and what time in the cycle or what phase of the year they're in, will dictate the frequency with which I'd want to prescribe those lifts. So for example, some of my lifters right now are in an off-season block. They're not competing for another 6 months or so. So I have them squatting 3 days a week, and none of those squat variations are the competition low bar style squat. There might be high bar once a week, front squat once a week, and pause front squat once a week, for example. Whereas if you have a same lifter that's coming into a contest like I am, you really have to up the frequency because you need to practice the competition lift. So as the competition gets closer, one of those front squat sessions might become a low bar. So you actually end up low bar squatting twice a week. And then in the last few weeks, you might even up that to 3 times a week for that final specificity. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea as to what I'm kind of thinking when I'm going about prescribing my exercise selection and frequency. I might share with you a little bit more information in a future video. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments, and I might make a separate video on that. And what you just saw here is the session that I had the other day. It started off with some tempo squats, and then I went into some conventional deadlifts. The plan was 3 sets of 6 reps at 180 kilos or 396 pounds. First set was fine. Second set, my left hand kind of lagged a little bit as I pulled on the bar, and I had a little bit of rotation through my upper back, and my upper back has really poor rotation and really weak rotation, and I just felt something go in my upper back. At the time it was agony, keeled over in the corner, couldn't breathe for about 10 minutes. I really think it's a rib or a sprained costovertebral joint. I'm going to see a chiropractor tomorrow, so I'll update you as to what that is tomorrow. But after a little bit of rest, 10 or 15 minutes, got my heart rate back down, gained some composure, I was able to come back and do the rest of my training. Probably a little bit more stubborn than I would have liked. And if I was coaching someone else, I probably wouldn't have wanted them to do it, but I guess that's just the mindset, is that, you know, I push that pain aside and I get through the rest of the training, which I did. 2 days later now, it doesn't feel too bad. I'm able to move, I'm able to train. It still hurts to breathe and to flex and to rotate through the upper back and thoracic region. However, it's much better than it was a few days ago, but I'll still go see that chiropractor, see if we can sort that out in the future, because I don't want that to kind of pop up again. It was a bit of an issue late last year, and I really need to get on top of that. Anyway, that's it from me in terms of the update. Stay tuned, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this video, follow me on Instagram if you're not already, and I will catch you all next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Joey, come back! How the fuck did you get a bicycle? Holy crap, I'm running like a bicycle person. Oh my god.